All right, Russ. We're not going to spoil the movie for anyone, okay?
Right?
But like it?
Yes.
Me too.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I really liked it a lot. I mean, and I'm not going to say anything specific at all, but some of my thoughts were like, I really think that they rebooted the whole thing in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt like this is the begin. It felt almost like a preview of the next thing. Like the whole thing was like one long preview of the next thing to me.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think that's totally fair to say.
Yeah, and they're
very enjoyable, and that was the main thing. Is I mean, look, I think I slept 4 hours. If that, it was worth it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was amazing. It was incredible, and just like that. I mean, there were some great. I mean, the effects were great. It got back to like the characters thing being great, like the characters finally, and the acting might have been better than any of them.
The acting may have been better than any of them. The cinematography was terrific.
Yeah,
it had some old school movie feel of the cinematography, like just for some of the set locations.
Mm-hmm. Well, the list of actors is impressive. I mean, Oscar Isaac is a pretty good actor.
Yeah.
And there's a girl who was in Game of Thrones who's a phenomenal actor, Gwendolyn Christie, who's a phenomenal actress, and a number of others. But this is
Craig is in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is not a spoiler, but apparently he was.
Don't say how. He's just in there. Don't that would be a spoiler.
Okay. Jeez. I mean, even the most minuscule things.
Yes.
What the hell?
Yeah, even the most minuscule things. Because I don't want to mess up for people. But I mean, honestly, I can tell you that you're just not going to be disappointed. Like if you're a fan of this thing, you're not going to be disappointed. I hear people's criticisms, and we'll get down the weeks to now, and people have already seen it. We'll get into some of the criticisms and what they mean. But I think that it's just. And some people are saying it's just so good because the prequels were so bad. I don't really buy into that either.
Not bad. Everybody gets so crazy about that.
I know. But at the end of the day, like Star Wars, like I debated with somebody last night on Twitter. Like Star Wars is like the original Star Wars was a Western. It was like a basic Western.
Yeah.
And this is back to that. This is back to like that concept of like okay,
You know what's funny about all the prequels with all the bitching that goes on about it now? Everybody paid for them. Everybody bought those crazy sets that came out. I actually didn't even do that, but I've seen every one of the movies. It's like, so stop. You went and saw them all, whether you complained or not.
Well, it's retrospective. It's retrospective regret. I mean, I don't know if there's any character that is hated more by a fan base than Jar Jar Binks is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, is there?
I mean, in terms of
what about Corey Cross in Toronto?
Well, in terms of a character that's not a villain, I think Jar Jar Binks is hated more than any non-villain in any movie or series of movies I've ever seen.
What about John Cena? He's always a good guy. He's pretty hated.
Well, we're talking about movies. We're not talking about WWF.
No, I'm with you. No, I think, and I'm not gonna. He's whatever. He's not in this movie. That's been pretty much and that was disappointing. I wanted him to show up in one of the scenes somewhere. Just Me too. Because it is so ridiculous. And I've seen interviews with the guy who played him, and he actually has fun time with it, like how much it's hated.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
Is his name Steve Bartman?
he just loves. I mean, he just loves it. So to me, they nailed it. The villain is awesome.
Yeah, they nailed it.
And the villain to me, there's so many cool things to talk about with the villain that I'd love to talk about, like that. Just like
I'm not going to mention it
because there's so many, and not even regardless of any of the obvious spoilers. There's just so many. It's such a deep character, like by far probably the most well-developed villain that Star Wars has ever had. Like I mean, so. from the beginning, and that was really cool. There's just some awesome things. So
the writing was strong, and these days for any movie. To find writing that's strong, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I mean, it really did make you want to see what happens next. It made you want to see the next movie. It made me wanting.
Oh yeah, if there was another one that they said, hey, you know what? If you want to watch the other one, it'll end at like 7 or 8 in the morning, and you might not get any. I would have watched it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would have watched it if I was by myself. I would have done the old thing that I did in the old days of movie theaters and snuck in and watched it again. Like. I would have snuck back in. The interesting thing about my movie theater, I don't know about yours, my movie theater was sold out completely.
Mine was too.
But there were 2/3 of the people in there. I mean, there were like 1/3 of the seats that were totally empty. I don't know why that was.
No, there were people in mine. Everybody was there.
Yeah,
this is one of the rare movies that people clapped as it started.
I know.
I don't remember the last time I've been to a movie, if ever, where people clapped when it started.
Yeah, or and even clapping at the end of movies is a dying thing. That doesn't happen anymore either, right? So.
Russ, clapping at the beginning or ending of movies is not synonymous with a movie being good. And you'll laugh at this, but I till my dying day, this is absolutely the truth. I went to see the movie Pearl Harbor, the opening show. And I think it was a Thursday night because it was a Michael Bay and there was a big thing to it. And I swear to God, people clapped and cheered at the end of it. And that movie was bad.
But that's at the end.
I haven't been to a movie where people clap at maybe with the exception of the Avengers in a long time. That was like. I mean, this is so.
At the beginning.
Yeah, so iconic. I mean, there were in my theater in my showing 8 previews before it, which was.
I know they set a record for previews.
I mean that, and you know how much money they're getting for these previews. They're like.
They showed 4 or 5 non-HD ones or non-3D, and then they showed 3 or 4 3D ones.
Were they all?
You know why it happened is because there's no product placement, right? So then they have to do it.
Right. So I'm watching this thing, sorry, Mike, and I'm saying like so the last preview in mine, I'm betting they were the same everywhere because I'm betting they just bought the Star Wars thing. Was the new Independence Day.
Yeah.
And all right, so the beginning of the new Independence Day, a woman comes up and says, the beginning of the preview is like, I feel like this is it. It's the end of the world. And and then I turn to my wife and I'm like, she's talking about watching all these previews. That was like it was like the perfect.
I know it's true, and I have no interest in that Independence Day, none.
Well, see, the thing is, since I worked in the movie theater for 10 years, and I think the rules haven't changed. What happens is, if there are that many previews, 3 or 4 of them easily are Disney or Disney company linked. They call them integral previews. They have to be on there.
There were 2 of them that were Disney linked that I saw. They had the Jungle Book, which really looks
great.
Really looks great, except for the fact the Jungle Book does look terrifying.
Like Tarzan, though, right?
It's terrifying though. I mean, Jungle Book is this like happy-go-lucky.
I know.
My kids have the Jungle Book collection of toys and stuff like that. So it's like that, my son is watching this. Is like, I think I like the other Jungle Book. I'm like,
everybody's smiling in Jungle Book, but not this version.
No, but it was an awesome preview. Man, the CG in that Jungle Book movie looks incredible.
Crazy. I will tell
you. The
other
one was the Secret Life of Pets, which I've seen previews for before, which looks awesome. I mean, just
that looks good.
For dog lovers like yourself, I mean, that just looks phenomenal.
I was going to say, since 1977, the biggest jump in the movie theater business, and look, 3D's been around. It's obviously a lot better now, but it's not that. It's the saved seat recliners, because back in the day you would have waited online for 2 hours. You didn't have to do that. And it's the fact that, like, I could get a cherry vanilla Coke. I couldn't do that in 77. Like, I just didn't even have a choice. Those 2 things are as much as anything else, because I'm telling you, when I got there, and I didn't have to wait online. They swipe my phone and I walk in. Like, that's just great.
That is great. I mean, I bought some swag. It was like a concert that way. There was swag for sale.
Oh, there was no swag for sale online.
Oh, really? There was a whole like concert booth selling tickets. I Instagrammed one of them. They could buy these opening night tickets that they're selling in limited edition or whatever.
To me, the greatest advance is IMAX. I mean, as somebody who was a projectionist, the seeing a movie, especially one with as many cinematic and technical things that are just stunning, you have to see it in an IMAX. The sound and the video.
I did not see Star Wars in IMAX.
I didn't either. I went 3D. I think 3D is good. I mean, IMAX. Some people that I know don't like it because it's too overwhelming.
Yeah, I know. It's just sit in the back. It's incredible.
We have, and I'm just telling you, it's not for everybody. But I will tell you this: the good thing about this movie is, like, I'm not a person who goes and sees a movie 2 or 3 times over. I'm not.
Right.
not that guy. I don't know why. And I'll watch it at home maybe once more. Maybe I'll even buy the DVD someday. But I'm just not that guy otherwise. And I was able to take it all in and really absorb it all, and that's a credit to the production of it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean it was. I mean it really was a movie that I did want to see. And there were a couple moments that were obvious, of course, but then there was a couple moments that were just awesome reveals that really surprised you.
But I don't feel like I missed anything. Do you feel like you missed or didn't understand something, and that's why you need to see it again? See, I didn't feel that way.
There was one thing. The one thing I didn't. There was a couple things, but they're plot related. I won't. But we'll talk about it after there. There are a couple things that I thought were pointless. But that just really were confusing. There were also a couple things that were throw-ins. Like, and this is not a spoiler at all. I can say this. Like, C-3PO comes out with a red arm at one point, right?
Right.
He mentioned something about his. I was talking to my son. He's like, "Yeah, that's part of this comic book line. That's like, it's not explained at all."
Okay. So they did have a little product placement.
They had that, so it's like, that's another universe. Why he mentions, I got to get my arm changed back from red, and that's all. It's like, what is that? It's completely confusing. So I mentioned it to my son. He's like, oh yeah, in his comic book he gets his arm. So I'm like, okay, well that was kind of interesting, but that was about, there were a couple things that I didn't understand, like and I won't talk about it now, but like no, I can't talk about it.
You can't talk about it. Don't do it. Let's
go. Let's start the show here. Definitely go see it though. Oh, and to finish your thought, with the most interesting things about new movies to me are the movie taverns. Which is there's one near there's two near us. There's one in Flowertown where you get these big, and I didn't see it there, unfortunately. I would have loved to have, but they have these beautiful theaters.
Delivered to you, and you can watch the movie. Is that?
Yeah, and you're in these big, reclining electric seats that are leather. So you like press a button and it reclines almost.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was in.
You're in one of those seats, yeah. And but they actually have you actually have a table that comes over and a button. You press that button, they'll bring you anything you want.
Yeah, this one doesn't have that, but I know when I was in, I want to say Massachusetts, they had it in Massachusetts, and I went and saw a movie during the Stanley Cup or something on the off day, and so they did have it there.
Yeah, it was really. I mean that is amazing, and I will almost exclusively go to Movie Tavern to see movies because it's just.
You have to go where the recliners are. It's just dumb not to.
The recliners are awesome, and the food is fun.
Is your video locked up or? Russ's?
No, why?
Russ's is locked up on my computer.
No, I can see everybody fine.
Yeah,
okay.
Me too.
Russ is okay.
Okay.
Must be you.
Mike.
Must be you. All right, here we go. It's the 18th. We are 1 week from Christmas. Just throwing it out there. All right. I'm a weird guy with Christmas. I'm like in the middle of the summer. I'm like, we are 5.5 months from Christmas. So I have to mention we are 1 week from Christmas. Okay. Here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It's Friday, December 18th, 2015.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I am Eklund, and you are the Darth Vader of the HockeyBuzzCast, Mike.
Pretty much.
I'll give you that. And you're watching the HockeyBuzzCast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes to you every afternoon, Monday through Friday, and we try to fill you in on the comings and goings of the hockey world. And right over my left shoulder, or if you're looking at me from your show, my right shoulder, because it's reversed, I think. It would be over my. Yeah, it's over my left shoulder. Is the Connor McDavid jersey, and there is some news, Mike.
Well, just reports that Connor McDavid is participating in the, I don't know if it's a morning skate or if it's just practice in Edmonton, but they hadn't let him, even though his injury was a collarbone injury, they didn't even want to let him on the ice while he was recovering. So this is a signal that at least the healing process is over with or almost complete to the point that they'll let him on the ice. And it's probably not contact drills. It's probably just skating around.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's got the yellow jersey on.
Yeah, but the thing is that he's one step closer to getting back. And I mean, I've heard everything from early to mid-January as a target date. And honestly, the way the Oilers have played recently, this looks like, if they could keep up what they're doing right now and they get McDavid back, they have an outside chance of making a run for a playoff spot in the Pacific.
Or at least catch the San Jose Sharks.
Or go 500 without Connor McDavid, which they are getting close to.
That's true.
Their 6-game winning streak definitely brought them in closer to that. So it's still possible, but I win my bet here.
Too many bets.
I think I know. That's for sure. That's for sure. But yeah, it is possible. I don't know, but yeah, no. I mean, it's great news for the NHL, of course. I mean, we all want to see Connor McDavid back. It was such a joy to watch him play in the few games we got to see him play. It feels like, and and obviously what he brings to Edmonton is more than just a star. He gives them options on what else they can do because Edmonton needs to do other things, and I think that's right now they're a little limited by that. But yeah, I think that when he returns, you could see the Oilers make a big move. I mean, it seems like it's possible for the first time ever. We had Kevin Allen on the other day. He said the same thing. It seems like it's definitely possible that they need to do something like this before they end up with the top overall pick again.
But they can only do it today if they want to do it before the freeze.
That's right. We're entering the trade freeze.
It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow. But they have to do it tomorrow. What time?
Midnight.
Oh, midnight. Okay, so they have some time. Okay.
They have one more full day.
Okay.
Yep. We really never see anything happen before the trade freeze. We do see things happen after the trade freeze. But honestly, unless it's something desperate, teams aren't really into trading their players right before the holidays. It's kind of an unwritten
thing to do.
No. Kind of an unwritten rule in this league. That you don't really want to do that. I mean, we remember that Brian Burke would have his own trade deadline freeze in the 10th, I think, of December. So.
Yeah. Well, that's the interesting thing, Eck, because on Tuesday, Burke and Brad Treliving were in Toronto to watch the Leafs and Tampa Bay game. He's the team president. Treliving is the GM. I haven't heard of the Flames having the holiday trade freeze, so maybe it's just a Burke thing. And if Calgary wants to make a deal before tomorrow night, they might be able to because this is not, Burke is not the GM. It's not his show to run.
Yeah, it is possible. I mean, but I would be surprised. I would be shocked, and it still would be kind of the way Burke, even though it's not his show to run, it's hard to take the GM out of Brian Burke. I think he's still, I mean, you've talked to Trevor League a lot, Russ, and stuff like that, and I do think he's a GM. He's a GM like any other GM, but I do also think that many teams in the NHL now are GM by committee and not just him. I mean, it's not just the Brian Burke thing. He's definitely one of those as well. I heard some interesting news about Team USA just a little bit ago. The under 20 starts when, Russ?
What's today's date? Today's the 18th. I would think.
Starts Boxing Day.
Yeah, Boxing Day, which is what, the 23rd?
26th.
26th, that's right.
The day after Christmas.
I always think it's before Christmas, but it's after. That's right.
It's always the day after Christmas. It's when you put things back in boxes, right?
So yeah.
Le lendemain de Noël, as they call it in French. But
unusually, usually New Year's Eve is Canada-U.S.
Right.
This year, it's the opening game, Canada-U.S., because they're in the same. Well, they're always in the same division, or most of the time are in the same division. This year, it's Canada-Sweden on New Year's Eve.
Huh. I mean, the Canada-U.S. game is such the the prime ticket game. It is interesting that they're starting with it. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if I would do that. I mean, to me, it's always like a highlight to watch that. I've held people back, like they're saying, "Well, come on, Russ, let's go," and I'm like, "No, I'm watching that game."
Oh yeah. I mean that's a can't miss game. So that's gonna be on the 26th of December, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean you definitely have to watch. I mean that is the game of the series, and I guess with the two teams being the same, can they still play in the final? How does this work?
Look at it.
Yeah, I know. Because after the round robin inside the division, it's like 1 versus 4 in the other division, 2 versus 3 in the other division. So it's possible that teams in the same division could end up facing each other at the end.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's what you want to see. You want to see it somehow set up so that they can play each other. At least the one thing I'll give. I mean, there was a couple years ago where they didn't play each other at all, right? That to me is the worst. Like when I think it was it 2 years ago they didn't play each other.
Nah, that's been a while. It's been longer than that.
They didn't play each other in the preliminary or something like that, and they end up playing each other towards the end.
As far as that's true. I thought you meant just on a New Year's Eve basis. Okay.
Right. I mean, you know, and I mean, I love them. To me, one of my favorite moments still was the New Year's Eve before one of the greatest games I think that we've ever seen with them was the New Year's Eve before the Flyers Boston Winter Classic, and I'll always remember that.
Yeah, that was one where I was in a hotel room with Mike Del Tufo, who I've done the Winter Classic book, and actually my new Flyers book, Images of Sports, coming out January 11th.
Right.
And also a professional wrestler. He was in our room, and because he's friends with Mike, this guy Bazooka Joe, and they wanted to go out, and I was like, no, we are watching this game, or at least I am. And they're like, but look at your laptop, it's sputtering. I'm like, I don't care. My laptop was like 3 seconds behind because of the hotel Wi-Fi, and I couldn't leave. And even Mike, after a while, was like, all right, I got to sit down and watch this because this game is just too good.
It was awfully exciting. And, I mean, what we did, I had my family with me, and I was with, I think Kevin Allen and a couple other people. We all went to a bar in the mall, like indoor area. There you could walk from our hotel to the arena in this indoor mall type area. And there was this bar right there. And it was a big, giant, like bar. And it was basically where most of the media was for Canada and the U.S., and what was great about it was it became very provincial. Like it became very much the Canadian media cheering for the Team Canada and the U.S. cheering for the U.S. And it was great. It was just one of those. It was just one of those things that made you think that these teams should always play on New Year's Eve. This should be a tradition. It should be something that always happens. Of course, I guess the way it works is you just can't make it always happen, but they should.
In what was it, 2014, right, for Flyers Rangers. I guess after the alumni game, if my memory serves, U.S.-Canada was playing, and I was watching in the media room with Doc Emmerich. Like that's a heck of a guy to watch a game like that.
That's a great thing to watch. That's a great guy to watch a game with. That's awesome.
He was like thrilled, like he was like a little kid, same as I was.
That's awesome.
And of course, Canada won, and it took the shine off it a little bit.
Yeah. No, this will be a fun one. And Team Canada's top. I mean, Team USA's top line now. I heard that being mentioned too. So it really sounds exciting. It just sounds like this is
with Matthews. That's a pretty potent combo, just those two. So
yeah. Now the kid from Erie, he's the kid from Erie, right?
Yeah.
He's a smaller player, correct?
Yeah, he's 5'9".
But he's getting a lot of hype. I mean, I guess
he should be. He's leading the OHL in scoring. He had over 100 points last year. He was like more than 2 points a game in high school. Like he's done it everywhere he's gone, but yet there's still this disbelief, like, oh well, maybe he can't do it at the NHL level. And it's like, on one hand, everybody wants to give like Johnny Gaudreau credit, and then on the other hand, they still want to say, well, if you're a small player, and it's like, well, when is that going to stop? And it should have stopped probably with Gaudreau succeeding in the NHL. And it's not to say everybody that size is going to make it.
Right.
And that's the risk. That's the inherent risk because and Russ and I talked about this on a webcast last month. I think when DeBrincat had just taken the lead in the OHL in goals.
Yeah.
And the fact is that he's probably ranked in about the middle of the first round. And if it was somebody who was 6'1" and 190 pounds, he would be challenging Matthews for #1 pick.
Yeah.
But in this tournament, he could probably increase that. He could probably get a little bit. He could probably move himself up a little bit, I would think.
He will, but then like the same old prejudices will come in when the draft happens from certain clubs that don't believe in those kinds of players.
Now, if you're the Edmonton Oilers, right, and you have the 3rd or 4th pick next year in the draft, not that that's going to happen. I mean, here's a guy. He's
not going to go there, no.
Right, because they're going to go for defense, right? But this
not necessarily. I mean, they could go with Paiarvi, they could go with Lane, they could go with Kachuk, and those top line guys.
They would go with bigger players.
But here's a guy who was incredibly successful with Connor McDavid, right? So I know. Yeah, I mean that. I don't know.
If I had the 6th or 7th pick, I'd be taking him.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. So what's up with John Scott? Are we still thinking is John Scott still leading this? Correct.
This is honestly, if here is my conspiracy theorist mind going to work. This was an edict from the NHL telling the Coyotes, we don't want this guy in the All-Star game, so send him down.
Nah, I'm not buying it.
I'm telling you, that's what I think. And
I'll tell you why I don't think that.
No, I don't think
because they have strengthened their rules at times to try and disallow it but then certain things happen, like Gergensen's being the top guy. Like they can't control everything. They know that, and they wouldn't do this. Now, if he were to get the most votes and not be on a roster, then you have unprecedented ground here, like as to what might happen and what would happen with him.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would think that if he gets the most votes, he's still going to the All-Star game, regardless.
What jersey is he going to wear?
Yeah.
Well, I guess he'd wear. But yeah, what would the?
I mean, he's
patch
still
be?
being paid for it. He's still being paid by the team.
I know, but I guess so. Would the patch be the Coyotes?
Would have to be because he's still in the Coyotes organization.
Is there a rule that says if you're an AHLer, well, I mean, look, they used to have the Young Stars thing, so you could, not be in the NHL and play when they had the Young Stars game. But now, can an AHL player participate in the regular 3-on-3 All-Star game with the NHLers? I kind of wonder if there's a rule about that.
I would be shocked that if he's on an AHL roster, he's eligible for the NHL All-Star game.
Right. That just may make him ineligible right off the bat, and they might announce that, and then that would stop the voting. That could happen.
Exactly.
Yes, it could happen,
And that's the reason why I'm thinking, okay, there's a way to stop it. Now it could be the Coyotes who are saying we don't want John Scott representing our team. We want Max Domi or Anthony Duclair or Oliver Ekman-Larsson. So this is their way. Okay, he's a 13.
Why wait till now? See, the thing is, I think they're just doing it because they just don't believe they have a spot for him anymore, more than the other. Because otherwise, they could have done this weeks ago when he was starting to be the leader.
True, they could have. And I don't buy it. I mean, first of all, I don't think the NHL. I think the NHL actually likes these kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, it gets noticed.
I don't know if they want him to get there, but at the same time, they do like these things.
I don't think so because in the NHL's mind, not all publicity is good publicity. This is sort of an embarrassment because they're trying to get rid of fighting. Not by some edict, but by the way the game is going. They're trying to get rid of fighting and fighters in this sport. So to have, the biggest fighter in the league or the biggest guy in the league who is a marginal player at best have to be the top vote getter. They know this is Roy Fitzpatrick and Zemgus Girgensons all over again. So I don't think they like this.
I don't think it really bothers them that much. I think the conspiracy stuff's overblown.
I'll tell you why. Why I don't think it bothers them is because of how much play it's gotten on NHL.com. Like the fact that it's always on NHL.com is just feeding into it. Like it's making him get more votes because there's more publicity. If NHL didn't like it, they would be ignoring it.
Right. I'm not saying it's not news. I'm just saying it's
but I think they would ignore.
No, they would ignore the news.
Yeah, NHL.com is not a news website. Remember this. It's a publicity website. It's a website for the NHL. I mean, it does put out news, but they are very specific about how they do it. I mean, we didn't see any Patrick Kane stuff on NHL.com.
What's eliminated from NHL.com is opinion.
Right. And they're getting better at it with some people, but but you have to dig deep for that stuff. Like on the front page, where you see the big blocks that are changing. Those are things the NHL really wants there. That's advertising. They're a marketing website. So I mean, and now, all right. So this is an interesting stat here, and I got to read this so I don't mess it up. But the Montreal Canadiens have outshot their opposition 254 to 164 in their last 7 games, and are 1-6 in those 7 games.
Yep.
And I know that we talked about, the importance of Price, and obviously, Price is arguably the, one of the best players in the world right now. Depending on if you count goalies as the best players in the world, you got to put him up there. He's not being there has hurt the Canadiens. The Canadiens are still in perfectly fine shape. But is this I have heard more and more that the Canadiens are looking for scoring help. That they're looking, looking for snipers. Eric Stahl is a possibility with Montreal, I've heard.
Since we brought it up, how many goals has Eric Stahl scored? I don't think he scored 1.
Yeah, Eric Stahl is starting to play like a player who is very much distracted by this. For the first time.
There's a common thread here. I mean, Steven Stamkos is having a bad year for Steven Stamkos. He's got 11 goals.
Right.
And there's all this controversy and everything about him becoming a UFA at the end of the year. Eric Stahl, as you said, is not having a great year. So, I mean, maybe the attention, maybe the hubbub
could be
getting to them.
I think a move will definitely energize him. I don't know if it turns him back into the old Eric Stahl, but he's not going to play this bad. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then he's. I mean, I
do
also
think... say that shots on goal is the most meaningless stat in hockey. If it didn't produce save percentage, we wouldn't even ever need to talk about it. Save percentage gets goalies paid when they go and have to meet with the GM, with agents. But shots on goal is the most meaningless stat in hockey.
It's funny you say that. I do agree with that. But it's something that we definitely has always been tracked very closely.
It's a topic of conversation like, oh, look, they're out shooting them 40-20, but they're losing.
Yeah, there's no question that quality shots and scoring chances are a totally different thing than shots on goal.
Yes.
Especially in the kind of systems certain defenses play this year, or in the last several years, it actually does encourage players to take outside shots and do different things. So yeah, you do get a definitely skewed percentage, no question about it.
Eric Stahl has 5 goals and 13 assists in 31 games.
Yeah.
A massive drop off for a guy making what, 7.5?
8.25.
8.25.
And his money is more than that. I mean, that's the cap hit. The money, I think, is over 9.
Now I'm hearing, and it's being reported by others as well, that Anze Kopitar is very close to signing with the LA Kings. This could happen as early as this afternoon, I heard. It's going to be close to $10 million a year. If not, it might actually make it over. I heard 10.1. I think Pierre LeBrun said 9.75. Yeah, it's and that
happens. It takes the brunt off of Steven Stamkos, because I've been hearing this conspiracy theory that, and I don't believe it, but the conspiracy theory is, well, the PA spoke to Stamkos and would like to see him become a free agent so that he can get the biggest contract ever. Right. But if this happens now with a player that's retained by a team in Kopitar, it takes all that out of that story. That it means nothing now, because now he will.
Not if it's 10-1. Not if it's 9.75. This is
but if he does 10-1, it completely kills the argument, because Stamkos will not get paid more than 10-1 no matter where he goes.
Well, no. Okay, this is the difference. Kane and Taves re-signed with the Hawks. Kopitar is re-signing with the Kings. They stayed, and that's what they got. But if the PA is interested in advancing the ball here, like in Major League Baseball, which is what Donald Fehr did before he moved to hockey, they're going to suggest to him to hold out for the big payday in free agency.
But if he's getting 10-1, how much more is he going to average a year? 10-2? 10-3?
Who are you talking about, Stamkos?
Yeah.
I'm talking about. I mean, if it's
not getting 11.
He's a free agent. Are you telling me that
nobody's paying 11? Nobody.
Are you telling me that free agents don't get overpaid?
I'm telling you that no one will get $11 million even as a free agent.
This is a 25-year-old number 1 center.
Doesn't matter.
Other than John Cooper, because he doesn't play him at center. This is a 25-year-old number 1 center, former number 1 pick, who is a Rocket Richard Trophy winner, who's hitting the open market maybe in the midst of his prime or even early in his prime. He could get $11 million.
He's not getting 11.
I don't doubt it.
I'm with Mike on this one. I am. I think he could get 11.
That makes one player, if my math is right, almost 15% of the cap.
We've seen that before. That's not. I mean that because it's 7. I mean with 70-some million less. And that again, I do agree that is weird. The percentage of the cap, but I do think that changes too when the cap goes up, because even though it's 15%, it doesn't mean that some of the lesser players are still suddenly going to make a lot more money. So you're going to have a lot of players. It doesn't really, the percentages becomes less important. Like 15% of a $40 million cap was a bigger deal.
Right. And Russ, the thing is that, Kane and Taves is 25% of their cap. So, I mean, I don't think that the fact that Stamkos could be 15% of somebody's cap is going to stop it. Like I keep bringing it back to Toronto and what would Toronto do. I think that Toronto, if they're going to make a concerted run at Stamkos, they're going to trade Phaneuf and trade a Lupul or somebody else to clear the cap space, because it makes no sense to bring in Stamkos with what's currently there, and then they're going to be a cap-strapped team again like they were with Kessel. So
I'm telling you right now, Lou Lamoriello will not spend $11 million a year on a player.
It may not be up to Lou Lamoriello.
All right, I'm gonna call you on that one.
Call me
because of this reason. Okay, Bobby Holik.
Well, that was the Rangers.
No, but no, that was. Oh, sorry, I'm bad. I was saying, that's right. He was, but you're right.
But Kovalchuk, and the thing was, he was overruled. He was overruled by the ownership. If MLS
by ownership, but also they had that out, and Kovalchuk actually eventually took that out.
Right, but if MLS and the ownership sees a chance to get, a linchpin franchise player, the hometown Toronto boy who they could build the team around, who could boost their ratings on their broadcast, all the things that come with Stamkos coming to Toronto, then they're going to tell Lamoriello to do it. And if he doesn't want to do it,
I don't know about that, because the minute you're paying him 11, the chances of you becoming successful as a team decreases.
Well, maybe, but that's why I'm saying they would have to move players out to make room for them. And it goes along with what they're doing. If they move out Phaneuf and someone else, bring in Stamkos, who's 25, then you're still building with the Nylanders and the Mariners, and you're still on that 2 to 3 year.
Okay, but here's the thing. All right, so let's say you're doing that, right? And you're building with the Nylanders and the Mariners and the Kapanens and all that. So those are your cheap guys. Morgan Riley then has to get a deal. Yep. If Gardner's still around, he's going to get a deal. And at some point, you're going to look at the cap, and like 60% of the cap is going to be taken up by like 7 or 8 players. And then you're going to have a bunch of young players, and you don't know if that mix will actually be a winning mix at that point. It might not be.
You don't, but that's the roll of the dice that most teams take. That's the roll of the dice.
Not all of them, and if anything, if your plan is what you say they're going to do, which so far it looks like it, that goes against that plan completely.
I agree with that. It's an alteration of the plan, but I didn't think that they thought that Stamkos would hit the market. Now I think they think he will, and that's why there's a possibility. Not that they would abandon it completely, because Mark Hunter is still going to be – they're going to be focused on drafting and bringing in talent, like with Mark Hunter doing the job that he did in the first year. And, the only difference is that he may not have top 5 picks after this year if they do go out and get Stamkos. So,
all right, so just as an example, what do we say the cap might go up to, 78?
They said no, 74.5 this year.
74.5, yeah.
Oh, 74.5, that's right. So that was the number I used for Stahl. Okay, so let's say we're at that 74.5 or 75. We'll just round it to 75. So you're giving 11 to Stahl. Let's say now you got to get a goalie. What are you spending on a goalie?
11 to Stamkos.
Stamkos, sorry. What are you spending on a goalie?
Right now, again, they're not ready to
go with that goalie. If you brought Stamkos in, you're not going with a.
Maybe they re-sign Reimer for a couple of years.
All right, so Reimer's going to get 4.
Not even.
Oh, he'll get 4.
Does he want to be a starter? Because he's not going to be a starter anywhere else.
Well,
this is Lou we're talking about here. This is Lou.
But he's still going to get $3.5–4 million bucks. So there's
he's going to get that. And Lou likes his goalies, so I don't think it's going to be Reimer. I think it's going to be somewhere else. I think
then it's going to cost more. It's going to be $5 or $6 million, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be somebody significant.
But that's why. See, it's a whole moving in.
What's Riley going to get extended to? What do you think Riley's extension will be?
I think they'll go with a bridge deal and they'll get about $4 million, 2 years, $4 million.
So now with just those 3 players, you're talking, and I'm going to do the 74.5. You're talking 28% of the cap now.
Okay, but you're not considering what if moving out Phaneuf, moving out Kadri.
A lot of young players who are going to be on rookie contracts. They're going to have a lot of them.
I get that, but I don't even have those guys on the deal right now. I'm at a blank cap, and you're at 28%. Imagine if you can't get rid of Phaneuf, then what's Phaneuf make?
Phaneuf is 7, but I think they're going to take a haircut and probably retain $2 million of his salary.
But if they can't, then you would be at $35 million, and then.
Russ, I did this calculation. If you take the potential buyout of Joffrey Lupul if they don't trade him by the end of the year, retaining $2 million on Dion Phaneuf's salary in a trade, the buyout of Tim Gleason, which is on there for another couple years, and one other amount that I'm blanking on. Oh, the 1.2 million of Kessel's salary. You know what that equals? Nathan Horton's.
I get it.
So they're on a $74.5 million budget, but they're actually on an $80 million budget because they got that deal as a coupon for the next 4 years.
That's fine. Even as an $80 million budget, you might be at like $30 million for 4 players.
Yeah, I know that.
I think that's possible, but I think it's Stamkos. I think they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's going to.
No, because this is a team that has not. This is a team that has not never. I mean, in a very, very, very long time, had the ability to do this. Like this is a when was the last time the Maple Leafs could go get a player like Stamkos? I mean,
But here's you know what the other issue is? I'll give you the other issue.
Go ahead.
They're not deep in defensemen for young talent, and so they're going to have to still buy at least one more defenseman.
Oh yeah.
Or draft one.
Well, but. Like even if they draft one, it's going to take 2 or 3 years for that guy to get
defense is not going to be. They're going to have. But you can. I mean, you got to look at the way Lamoriello's built teams in the past and the way Babcock's built teams in the past. They can find players that'll fill roles that'll I mean, if Lou could do what he did with Kovalchuk in New Jersey, then he can do what he's doing with Stamkos in Toronto.
This is the guy who brought in Rafalski, So I mean, he drafts Niedermayer 3rd overall, but then he finds diamonds in the rough like Rafalski. So
I don't know. I think this is a losing plan for the Leafs that way because I think it just allocates too much resources.
Well,
it might. I think they'll do it. You might be right, but I still think they'll do it. One way or the other, this team has to find a franchise building block in the next couple of years. If they luck out with the lottery and get Austin Matthews, that might change the plan a little bit. But if they don't,
or it should be Nylander or Marner, and then yourself.
You need more than one guy. I mean, to answer X's question, the last time there was that opportunity for the Leafs, they traded their most popular player to Quebec for Matt Sundin, and the organization was never forgiven for it, even though Matt Sundin was their best player for over a decade. They were never forgiven for that move.
Yeah, no, this is a fan base that would kill them if they didn't go to $11 million for Steven Stamkos.
Right, and
I think that this and they know that and they realize it.
Imagine this worst case scenario, okay? Because if Steven Stamkos signs with Tampa Bay for a little less money, I think everybody in Toronto would understand it. He's staying in Tampa. He sees this as the best opportunity to win a Stanley Cup. Blah blah blah. Right. Okay. If he hits the market on July 1st, and God forbid he signs with the Montreal Canadiens,
that's not going to happen. Here's the thing.
It's a possibility. I mean, there's as much of a possibility as him signing with Toronto. If he does that, Brendan Shanahan, Lou Lamoriello, Mike Babcock, their name is mud because they couldn't get the guy who has been the fixation of Maple Leaf fans since he was drafted in 2000.
I don't think their name would be mud. I just think that there would be half the fan base would be mad, and then they would still say, listen, you got to wait for our plan. But here's my thinking, though. Let's say it goes to the free agent deadline, and Stamkos tells the Leafs, hey, it's between you and Tampa. But I'll be honest. For you guys, it's $13 million. If not, I'm going to take less for Tampa. Are you doing it, Mike?
13? No. It's at 11.
So 11's your line.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be the highest paid player in the NHL at $11 million.
Right, but he still wouldn't be guaranteed a winner, where with Tampa it's a winner. So I think he would.
That's the whole point. I mean, if he wants to make the limit, if he wants to make 20%, then it's clearly just a move for money.
Well, that's what I think it would be clearly a move.
I think if he signs for $11 million, he'd still be the highest paid player in the league. Yeah. He would have the opportunity of making tons of money in advertising in Toronto. He would be coming home to be the center of attention with the Leafs. There are all these other ancillary things that would fall into place if he signed with Toronto. It may not be what he wants.
They don't necessarily equal winning, and so he might look for even a bigger deal out of them.
Well, they might. It might.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with Montreal is that there is no team in the NHL that can offer him more money than Toronto can because of the situation they're in, right? Montreal already has Price. They already have Subban. They have already got big time players that are signed to big contracts.
Someone like Arizona all of a sudden, fell.
Right, but they don't have the budget, so they're limited. I mean, Toronto's not limited by budget. They're not limited by the fact that they have contracts. I mean, this is the one team that can offer the most money. The question is that we just don't know. We really don't know is whether Stamkos wants to play in Toronto. That's what we really don't know. And I think that we're never going to know for sure because he's not going to piss off the people of Toronto if he doesn't want to play in Toronto. He's going to talk to Toronto. He's going to negotiate with Toronto.
I think there's going to be an inconvenience price. I do because I think Stamkos is smart enough to know there's a lot of expectations, a lot more in Toronto than there would be in Tampa.
Well, hometown discount in Toronto means you get an extra $2 million, right? So that's
Russ, this is the only thing. If the argument against going to Toronto is the fact that the big salary limits them in terms of being able to build a team around Stamkos to make them a winner, then him taking an extra $2 million a year goes toward that goal. He can't expect to top off and get 20% of the cap, which is the limit, I believe. They would make him the highest paid player in the league.
And he might say, you know what? I'm just going to stay in Tampa because they can win.
Okay, well, then you know what? Then that's the answer. If he wants to stay in Tampa, if he's only using Toronto as a counterbalance to get Tampa to pay.
Well, how would it play in the fan base if he went for the 20% contract with Toronto and then the Maple Leafs said no? How would that play?
I think that fans would see the fact that he was only coming to Toronto for money, or that he was.
How many would be mad? There still would be ones that would be mad that he's not there.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a group of people that are going to be upset.
Considerably less fans would be mad if Stamkos was saying, "I'll come to Toronto for 13.5."
What if Stamkos was Tarasenko?
Oh God, if it was, well, I mean, come on. Part of the whole draw here is Stamkos. I think $6.5 million right now. I think he's 29 or 28 or 29. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
He'll get some sort of lifetime deal from Montreal. But I'll tell you a question that was posed to me earlier to switch gears, and it was like, what do you think about Cam Ward getting traded, right? So in my head, I quickly calculated his contract, which is way overblown for Cam Ward. Was he 6.8, Mike? It's ridiculous.
Cam Ward's 6'3".
6'3", right. And so now, even at a prorated rate, why would Carolina want to hold on to him when it's going to cost them $2.5 million to lose out the rest of the season? They're going to do something, right?
Yeah.
They don't, but the problem is nobody's going to take him at 6'3".
No, nobody will take him at 6'3" unless they do a magic move with the Leafs, right, and give him a pick to just save money.
Yeah, I said, but the thing is here, the Leafs. I don't think the Leafs want him either because the Leafs. I mean, the only person who wants to win in Toronto is Mike Babcock.
Right.
The ownership and the management, I don't think, want to win. They're not going to say that, but And
but they'd only be sheltering Cam Ward for 2 months, and then he'd get picks out of it.
Well, I mean, if you're sheltering,
I mean, Cam Ward. I've thought about this. This is the perfect place for the Carolina Hurricanes to dump Cam Ward. There's no question about it.
Because honestly, and tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think Cam Ward has any value as a trade.
No, he doesn't.
Well, and this was my argument, the only value that Cam Ward has in a trade is to a team that has a chaotic goaltending situation if Carolina eats 50% of the salary. Now, okay, you could say the motivation that Calgary won't or Carolina won't do that because they want to get rid of the contract. But if they want to get assets back for Cam Ward, they will. So a team like Calgary, who is in the playoff race right now,
Carrie Ramos playing very, very well.
Yeah. Well, that's jeez, unbelievable.
Throwing it out there.
Yeah, but they know that they have clay feet when it comes to their goaltending because Kerry Ramos is their number one goaltender. They need to go out and get a goaltender.
Right, but I don't think the problem with Cam Ward is he still is not very good.
Right.
No matter how chaotic a team is, he's still not very good.
Yeah, he hasn't been good for a very long time too, and right. It's not. I mean, this has been a couple years now, so. I mean, he's not terrible, but he's not as he's a great backup right now for some team. But $6.8 million backup is not going to make it work. It's not.
Cam Ward for Jonas Hiller. Then you'd have the Swiss connection of Eddie Lack. Or isn't Eddie Lack Swiss?
I don't think so.
I thought he was Swiss, but I
thought he was Canadian.
I thought he was Canadian too.
No, he's not.
Okay, I have to look that one up. So Can we talk about the Anaheim Ducks and how
Oh my
still have a
God.
job?
Eddie Lack is Swedish. I apologize to everybody from Switzerland.
How does Bruce Boudreau still have a job?
I know.
Honestly, I saw a bit of that game, and I heard some commentators this morning, and they came to the same conclusion I did. I've never seen a team that had 44 shots on goal that was more outplayed in my life than Anaheim was. I mean, it was 3-0 Buffalo, and they had 44 shots on Chad Johnson, and I don't think they had one really good scoring chance.
They've got 56 goals this year, right? So that's 12 less than the next worst team, which is Pittsburgh, oddly enough, and they've got 52 less than the leading team. So they've only scored half as many goals as the Dallas Stars.
Wow, if we calculated cost per goal for those two teams, for Anaheim and Pittsburgh, is outrageously high.
Oh yeah, no, that's insane, and it is. You're not getting your money's worth this year for goal scoring. No, that's for sure. I mean, like the top scoring teams, some of them are doing it with way less paid players.
Ryan Getzlaf is being outscored by Mike Santorelli. That's how bad it is. I mean,
how does Boudreau have a job? Tell me.
I know. Well, it can't. And this is what I think is happening, because I've talked about it last week. I really think that they believed they were close to making a couple trades, and they've both fallen through. So I think every time they get further, they're like, okay, we're going to make a change. And like I know that they were close with Pittsburgh on Cam Fowler. I talked to enough people about that, and yet Pittsburgh goes out and gets Daly, right? So every time they're thinking about firing Boudreau, they're trying to make a deal, and then that deal doesn't work.
If you're the owner, are you worried about Boudreau's Christmas, or do you fire him today?
No, they're gonna fire him on January 2nd, Russ. Because why do you fire?
Wasn't Ron Wilson fired on Christmas? Wasn't that?
Ron Wilson.
No. He signed an extension on Christmas.
Oh, is that what it was?
That's what it was. He signed the extension on Christmas.
Somebody was fired on Christmas.
I thought he tweeted out that he was fired. He tweeted out that he signed an extension on Christmas.
He tweeted out that he got the 1-year extension on his contract on Christmas Day, and basically pissed off the entire.
There was a player. There was a coach that was fired.
There was a coach that was fired on Christmas.
Yeah, I don't know that
one. The last couple of years, I do remember that.
But Wilson signed an extension.
But they could be out of it by January 1st. No joke.
Russ, I agree. Yeah. But the thing is, it's like, okay, say, and I don't know this for a fact. Say that the guy that they want to hire is Randy Carlyle. You're going to try to sign or bring in Randy Carlyle on December 18th, when all you have to do is wait 2 weeks and not give up a second-round pick?
Oh, you know what it was? It was DeBoer the day after Christmas.
Okay. It was Lou Lamoriello, of course. It had to be. All right, but you're right, Michael. I get what you're saying about that.
Yeah.
But here's my thinking on Carlisle. I don't think he wants to go there, because I think that they would have done it by now. I think that there was a period of time where you were hearing about it.
Right.
And I think it, and then it sort of vanished away. Like I talked to a lot of people who were saying, yeah, he's definitely, but then it went away, which leaves the implication that things didn't end well in Anaheim with Randy Carlyle. So I don't know that he really has any desire to go back there.
The only other solution would be, and this would be odd, but it could be possible, is they could call up their American League coach to be the interim coach for 2 weeks, and then wait until after January 1st, and then hire somebody without compensation. And their coach in the AHL happens to be Dallas Aikens.
Yep. And that's what I was thinking. That was the irony of this, is that he could get a second chance, at least for that window.
Right.
And I would do that as an owner, because at this point, this team's not making the playoffs. The way they are right now with the coach, the way they are, no trades made, they are not making the playoffs. They could go on the run of all runs. Even Ottawa's run last year, and in the West, there's no way. It's not happening.
Here's some injury news. The Blackhawks have just tweeted out that Marcus Kruger had surgery on a dislocation of his left wrist. He'll be out for 4 months. So that means till the playoffs.
That sounds incredibly painful. Can you imagine that? Just like
it's not like Bickle can't be moved now. Now you can't move Bickle.
Now you can't move Bickle. Well, now you don't have to.
Kruger would go on LTIR. Yeah, yes,
this is the LTIR that the Chicago Blackhawks always, the break the Chicago Blackhawks always get with LTIR. This is like.
Right. But they need Kruger as a penalty killer. He doesn't make that much money.
Yeah, no, he's not that big.
He's making over $4 million, I think.
Is he really that?
I think I'm checking right now.
I don't think he's that high.
No, you're right. I'm wrong. 1.5. So
Yeah,
that's
this is a team that didn't even give that much to their top. Their Duncan Keith's contract is reasonable for them.
well. A couple other injury notes. Sedin got hurt. I think it was Henrik.
Okay.
It's tough to tell them apart.
One of them
One of them got hurt, and they said it was not a day-to-day thing. That it could be something more serious, but they're being very hesitant about that. And in Toronto, this will affect Russ's fantasy team. Garrett Sparks, who started yesterday for Jonathan Bernier after Mike Babcock excoriated Bernier after the loss to Tampa on Tuesday. Garrett Sparks gets hurt in the first period. It's, quote, a long-term injury. Bernier gives up a 2-goal, and it wasn't his. It wasn't like Tampa where the goals were his fault. But he gave up a 2-goal lead in the third period, lost in overtime. And since Babcock has no other option but Bernier now, he was a little more kind to him in the post-game comments. But now Toronto is down to Bernier and Antoine Bibeau, their fourth-string goalie, and the Marlies are playing ECHL goaltenders.
The spark is gone in Toronto.
Well, and remember, and Russ, last night the great story of the we forgot to talk about the Rangers. The Rangers calling up their goalie.
Yeah.
It was a Mackenzie Skapsky?
No,
the emergency
goalie. Magnus Hellberg.
Yep, the emergency goalie.
Is that the 6'9" Swede?
Yes.
Who was watching the game or something like that? There was reading the article about it.
I didn't get to see it. I don't know what the full.
Yeah, apparently he was watching the game and then got called and had to go to the arena.
Okay.
Because he lived near the arena. And apparently if you're an emergency goalie, what you get is $500 and you get to keep the jersey.
Right.
That's the CBA. The CBA rules are you come in as a backup emergency goalie, you get $500, doesn't count against the cap.
Well, was it Hellberg that they used, or did they use someone else?
No, it was I think Mike might have been right. What was the name?
Was it Skapsky that they used for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was.
Hellberg got called up today. That's why I asked.
Yeah, Skapsky because he was in Minnesota, right? So he lives right near the XL Center. So Lundqvist gets hurt. They call him up, and he just comes over there, and they give him $500 and his jersey, and he goes home after the game. It's pretty hilarious. I think that's just.
Well, I don't know. I don't know who the Leafs had on the bench, or if they had anybody on the bench when Sparks got hurt. But I know when Reimer got hurt and they had to call up somebody a couple weeks ago, the Zamboni driver from the Ricoh Coliseum was called, and he had to drive to Rochester to be the backup for the Marlies. So there's.
I just want to make this announcement right now. Okay?
Whoa. Both of you guys got it wrong. The guy's name is Santino Vasquez.
Vasquez, that's right. That's what it was. Yes.
I know. So that is.
I'm just putting it out there right now that I am an emergency goalie near the Philadelphia Arena. At any time, any team comes in here, they have a problem. Just feel free to text me. I can be there in a half hour. I will.
Believe me, if they're calling you, it's definitely an emergency.
I will not even take the $500. I just want the jersey. So you're going to save some money. So come give me a ring.
Not bad.
Can we talk about what you wrote in your blog today, Ak?
I think we're out of time, unfortunately, because we got to get going. But
go ahead. If you got a minute or two.
No, I have to go as well.
Oh,
but
you gotta go.
I'm sorry. But yeah, that's a teaser. You got to go read it in the vlog.
Go read it.
It's about the Stars and the Kushkin and all that stuff. So check it out. And we'll talk more about it. I'll talk about it next week for sure. But I do have to run, unfortunately. Remember, guys, without the buzz, have a great weekend. Okay, before I forget, have a wonderful holiday weekend.
Have a great holiday.
Yep. Without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you on Monday.
And may the force be with you.
Yes. May a force be with you. Some force.